congressional and state legislative governor, lieutenant governor interviews today. Veterans and Politics International welcomes you. I'm Robert Kurth. I'll be moderating the event. We're going to have each one of you introduce yourself and give us a little bit of 1 minute or so about your background, and then we're going to have each panel member be allowed to ask you a question. Try to limit your response to a minute. I'll try not to interrupt you. I know some of these questions are a little bit more complex. They take a little bit more time, but we want to try to get everybody the same opportunity to get that in. No personal attacks, which I don't expect that would be an issue. I want to thank our sponsors for today, Ron Cooper Treasurer, Lakeside Business Suites, Michael Broadway Realtor, and thank our panel members. And first, we'd like to introduce our panel members.
Michael McDonald, VIPI, Legislative Council, Balance of the Liberties Union, Restoring Freedom, Only Family Courts, and Restoring Families.
John Moore, U.S. Army, former Nevada Assemblyman.
Petarra, U.S. Army Global War on Terror, Nevada President for Veterans Politics.
Dusty Beavers, Armed Forces Chamber of Commerce.
Good afternoon, thank you for being here. My name is Robert Foust. I'm a former U.S. Army veteran.
And we're gonna start right now first with the background information, but one of the candidates, Scott LaFada, couldn't be here, so he has a representative that's just gonna make a short statement.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you for coming. I'm Johnny Jackson. I'm a Vietnam veteran. We had our day the other day, which is kind of good, 47 years after the fact. But I'm representing Scott LaFada, who is running for lieutenant governor. Scott gives his apologies that he couldn't be here, but he had a previous engagement fundraiser today at 3:30, so he's gearing up for that. But he appreciates the invitation. Go to his website, lafadafromnevada.com. You get plenty of information on that. And regarding veterans issues, he wants to make sure that Nevada honors what President Trump did, that if you want a private doctor, instead of going to the VA, which I'm going through right now, you can go to the private doctor saying you can go to the VA. He wants to make sure that's happening because that creates economic development. These more doctors will get work, whether away from the VA, or the veterans will have a choice of not having to wait in a long line at the VA and go to a doctor. So again, go to lafadafromnevada.com and check Scott out. But again, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We want to thank Ed Uehling, Gary Meyers, Eugene Hoover, Janine Hansen, and Brent Jones for being here. And we're going to go ahead and we'll start with the first question. Well, we'll start with an introduction first from Mr. Jones.
Hi, my name is Brent Jones, and I'm a former Assemblyman. I served with Mr. John Moore. I consider myself a constitutional conservative in that I want to follow the rule of law, particularly the Constitution, so I'm very pro-gun. I'm also voted against the largest tax increase, so I stood up against the establishment for that. I'm also a businessman. I own a number of businesses. One of them is Real Water, which you've probably seen around the valley. I also started the Real Chamber because of my frustration with Metro Chamber, which was not representing businesses, but was actually just representing the establishment of the Insider Club. And I also have another company called Real MA, and I'll put a plug next Friday night. Real MA is at Samstown Live, so if you have any interest in watching mixed martial arts, please go. What I stand for is keeping a limited government and less taxation. We just do not need to keep increasing the government. And one of the things I want to point out is I was the first politician to get out and represent or endorse President Trump. And I got to introduce him in front of a few thousand people, which is very fun. But I saw, talking to people in my district, that he gets it. He's a businessman. He's applying business concepts and getting great things happening, even though he's being attacked like crazy because the establishment or deep state doesn't like him. But lower taxes, he's reduced regulations 20 to 1. He's just setting a good example. So we right now have a chance that we can try to not Californianize Nevada and push back. And we're getting a lot of help now from the Republican National Committee to really keep Nevada conservative and keep it less regulated. So I'm excited to go forward and hopefully become your lieutenant governor, who will be basically a salesman for the state. And as a businessman, I can sell. So thank you very much.
Go ahead, Janine.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be with you who have served our country. I really appreciate your service. My name is Janine Hansen, and I have been active in Nevada at the legislature my entire adult life. And in fact, since 1991, I have been full-time as a citizen lobbyist and an advocate for families and for taxpayers. And this is something that we don't have at the legislature. We have lots of lobbyists there that have highly paid lobbyists, and I'm there as a volunteer working to protect Nevadans. I was there testifying against the tax increases. I was there testifying for families year after year, and I engage people around the state in my network so that individuals can participate in the process and make a difference. It's absolutely critical. Right now, when we look at Nevada, it used to be a family-friendly state. It used to be a business-friendly state. But what we did in 2015 with the Republicans was pass the largest tax increase in Nevada history. Right now, we're looking at the largest property tax in history. It passed last session. It would triple our property taxes for homes and businesses in Nevada. This is a travesty. And if we don't make this a huge issue, it could possibly pass in the next legislature and then on the ballot. We're destroying Nevada by excessive taxation and by excessive regulation. Our individual rights are not being defended and taken and promoted. One of the problems we have here is we pay as individual families about $763 a year towards the $630 million bill that the promotion of having illegal immigrants in our state cost. It's a huge tax burden in our state. If we are going to repeal the commerce tax, we have to cut back in business in the business of government in order to be able to go back to where we were with regards to the huge tax increase. So we have to come up with things to reduce the margin, the tax that we have in the commerce tax. I suggest those would be choice in education, which will reduce our costs and improve education, accessing our lands in the state of Nevada, which we have resources and tourist opportunities there, as well as reducing our financing of illegal immigrants. 62% of their families are accessing welfare in our state.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. My name is Eugene Hoover. I'm running for Lieutenant Governor, and I would also like to thank you folks for your service. I'm a longtime small business owner, just recently turned my business over to my oldest daughter, and my wife and 5 kids are fully supportive of me running for Lieutenant Governor. I have a lot of small business background. I've been representing small businesses at the legislature for about the last 7 or 8 years, and I've also had an opportunity to testify against that terrible commerce tax. And I basically voiced the sentiment of the 2 prior folks that have spoken as well, that we need to do everything we can to repeal this, and we need to finally pick the right Republicans. And I am very happy to see this type of board here assembled today, because it's up to you now. We get to come up here and we get to bloviate, but at the end of the day, you guys get to decide. And I'm surely hoping that as we move forward as a state, that we can figure out that we need to elect the right people, not just a Republican. And so these type of venues is very important for all of us moving forward. Thanks.
My name is Gary Anthony Meyers, and thank you for having me here. I didn't get a chance to serve, so I love you all. I love our veterans. I love everything that you have done for us, because we wouldn't be here without you. Thank you for that. I am a businessman. I moved here from California in 1994 because I saw what California was doing, and I foresaw what they were doing. So I came here to Nevada and started a corporation. I'm in the entertainment business. Without the entertainment business, Nevada wouldn't exist. You wouldn't even be here. Without guys like me who bring businesses from all the world. This is the reason why I ran for Lieutenant Governor, is because that's what I do for the past 18 years. I've been bringing business from all over the world. I travel the world doing as a Sinatra tribute artist. That's what I mainly do, but I own the corporation that brings the business to here. I've been all over the world. The most important thing about Lieutenant Governor is tourism. And that's what I've been doing for 18 years. There's a lot of people, you don't even realize that's what we've been doing. And tourism and getting government off our backs. I believe in the Constitution, the rule of law, and I'm conservative, and he is right. We need conservative men and women as Republicans to get up there and serve the people. I'm a businessman that does contracts every day. I do contracts. When you raise our taxes, what do we get back? What does the public? I'm the public. I'm you. I'm the guy that's getting hit all the time through taxes. And we have to charge our clients now more money because you're charging me. And so we have to lower our prices. You're hurting small business is what you're doing. So I'm kind of just saying, hey, I got to get up there and say, let's send businessmen to our government state and let business take care of it. Politicians do what politicians do. Businessmen do what businessmen do. We write contracts for the people. That's what I want to do. Contracts for the people. And I thank you for having me here today.
Yes, my name is Uehling, and I hope you're listening to everything that people have to say in this panel. It's totally true. We want to bring business to the state and cut the amount of government and government regulation against us all. I moved to Nevada in 1943. My father came to work after the dam was built as an engineer, and so I was able to witness the growth of Las Vegas against the federal government, by the way. Everything we were doing here was illegal. Gambling, prostitution, no-fault divorce, all those things were illegal in the rest of the United States. And yet we did it here in the state of Nevada, a few courageous people. When I moved here, and I was 3 years old, so I didn't realize it really, but Las Vegas is only about 7,000 people. It's now 2 million people, and unfortunately, the people that we have running businesses today are not courageous people. That's, where do I go? The people that are taking the money now is a cartel that was formed as a result of the stadium, a hotel cartel. We gave them, as a result of the votes there, the public gave that cartel $750 million. But the $750 million is a drop in the bucket of what's going to happen in the future if we, as the people, don't take control. Everything now is being channeled to the resorts. And when they formulated the plans, I attended all those meetings of the Southern Nevada Transportation Infrastructure Committee. When they formulated the plans, the hotels made it very clear they don't want growth here of tourists. They want more money. They wanted at that time, the room rates were about $110,000. They wanted the room rates to go up, and they were going to do that by limiting the tourists. Well, they've succeeded. Last year, 1 million fewer tourists came here to Nevada. 1 million fewer. And we're spending all this government money to bring tourists. The LVCVA spends $300 million a year. They did a $1 billion contract with R&R Advertising, the agency that controls all the elections in addition. And we had fewer tourists. Why? The excuse they offer is we didn't have enough rooms because they had to close down some rooms in the hotels, so they didn't have enough. Well, guess what? The people of the county have lots of rooms that they would like to rent to tourists, host tourists in their houses, and earn an extra $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year, rather than have it channeled all through the casinos. And that's what happened. I've run for several elections. I gave up after attending the 3-day session, special session for the stadium, when all my friends broke their promise and voted for the stadium, and rather than against it, and in essence created this cartel and this outrageous robbery of the people. I understand the purpose of government is to take from the many and give to the few. Okay.
Thank you.
And that's what's happening. We got to stop that.
Robert Foust, U.S. Army. So what would each of you, what would be your number one priority if you were to be the lieutenant governor? Because I don't see the lieutenant governor doing a whole lot. I know you guys all have opinions of running around and bringing in businesses, but to me, the lieutenant governor is just a babysitter in case the city governor croaks or goes to jail. So what is the one thing that you would bring to the office?
Oh, where's the microphone? Oh, bring it down here, Mr. Jones. That's
Start with me every time.
no, just wherever the microphone ends up. Let's start with that. Thank you.
Yes, you're correct. The lieutenant governor does have, runs the state senate during session, so that's one job that it does. But other than that, we sit on certain committees like commerce and tourism and stuff. So we really don't have a lot of power per se, in that we don't vote. But if you look at right now, I think Mike Pence is doing a good example of what a second person could do to President Trump. He's going around and he's promoting, he's going to fundraisers, he's going to places to promote the agenda of the president. Well, one thing is if Adam gets elected, which I fully intend and hope he does, then I can promote a somewhat conservative agenda. If Sisolak gets elected, then I could potentially be a thorn in his side, or the other lady as well. So although we don't have a lot of power per se, we can, if we do use the office, we can be a good microphone for our state and also promote issues. So.
Giuliani's the other lady.
Yeah.
I think the position of lieutenant governor is very important. They have a great opportunity to promote issues, to serve as a bully pulpit. They can do much more than they've done in the past in discussing these issues. For instance, we should not be promoting any more taxes in the state of Nevada. We're going to destroy the golden goose, and we will not be able to attract businesses here. So they can be an active voice, and I think that's something that I know very much about doing. I spent my entire life building a nonprofit organization, running that nonprofit organization, and traveling the entire state, and I know it well. And I think this is a very important opportunity to be able to use that position in a very, at times provocative, but also a very constructive way in order to turn the tide towards business and families in the state of Nevada. It's been going towards crony capitalism. We use tax money to support certain select businesses, and the rest of us are all paying for it. That needs to stop, and I'm not afraid to speak out. I've spoken out my entire life, and I can be a spokesman and an advocate for businesses, taxpayers, and families in a way that may not be traditional to the lieutenant governor, but can certainly be an advocate for ourselves.
Well, I think that first off, we need to be worried about the governor, and we don't know who's going to be governor at this point. And as lieutenant governor and the conservatives that are up here today, including myself, it'd be very helpful to make sure that in the executive suites that we have a lieutenant governor who is a Republican and a conservative. And don't underestimate the power of the president of the Senate as well. And I think that'd be very helpful in writing, stopping, slowing down, or speeding up legislation as well. But I also say dittos to what they said as well.
Absolutely. Actually, it's the best place to be. I know it's a part-time job, but for me, it'd be a full-time job because I want to make sure we're in charge of the legislature. So, I mean, whatever comes through, being a conservative, whatever comes through that goes to the governor, I want to look at it and say, take it back. No more new taxes, no more this, no more that. Freeze those taxes. I want nothing to do with taxes. Okay, and if we get a good governor, if we get a governor that's conservative, you betcha we can turn the state around. And I want to be there to watch it turn around because I'm from California. I saw it all as a child. I saw everything as a child. I got involved in politics when President Kennedy was assassinated. Right? My birthday was the next day. Happy birthday. Right? That woke me up. And I saw, and I've watched for 65 years. I'm 65 years old on this planet. And I've watched everyone for 65 years. Because I was not involved in politics doesn't mean I wasn't looking and watching everyone. Okay, I know who's who. I know who's doing what to whom. And I want to be there as Lieutenant Governor to make sure that California does not happen for the state of Nevada.
Yes, I would disagree with the rest of the panel to a certain degree, because I think in addition to breaking ties in the votes of the Senate, the lieutenant governor has an extremely important position, and that is chairman of tourism in the state. That means that the lieutenant governor is in essence the ambassador to the entire world of the state of Nevada. Nevada is the most international state in the union already. And our future is going to depend on bringing international tourists here to Las Vegas. The United States is in decline, and headed for bankruptcy, and other countries all over the world are creating wealth, not destroying wealth like our country is, not borrowing to be able to just pay our daily bills. And I have the opportunity to travel to China a lot. Just in China, there are 500 million people who are middle class now, after 40 years of government, middle class who, if you say, oh, you say, I'm from Los Angeles, they say, oh, you are? If you say you're from Las Vegas, yes, I want to visit Las Vegas. Every Chinese person wants to visit Las Vegas. They go to Macau, 20 million of them, and gamble $42 billion a year. Las Vegas has the gambling, the same figure in Las Vegas is $10 billion. We're 1/4 the size of Macau. It's harder for a Chinese person to go to Macau. They have to get a special permit from the Chinese government to go than it is to come to Las Vegas. But when they come to Las Vegas, what happens? They are shuffled in long lines in the embassies. They're treated like dirt, and when they get here and they win something, their winnings are taxed by the United States government. It's in Macau, you don't pay any taxes on casino winnings, and so we can have those people come here to Las Vegas. The step between them coming is the United States government. They simply do not give enough visas for the people to come. And just that market alone would double the size of our market with just 5 or 10 million Chinese coming here every year. Thank you. By the way, can I say one other thing? Thank you all for serving on this panel. I know you've been here a long day and you have to listen to bloviating people like me. I apologize.
Go ahead, Ms. Beavers.
Good afternoon, Destiny Beavers. My question is, if elected, would you publicly oppose the decision of the governor if you disagreed?
Depends.
Would I publicly oppose the governor? I can say no, I would be discreet and be a nice guy and all that. But anyone who knows me, I can't stop. I go to the county commission all the time, and I'm sorry, but I can't stand what those people do, and I tell them to their face. I go to the LVCVA, and the LVCVA is an excellent example of what Mr. Meyers said. He's a person who brings people here. Well, guess who's on the LVCVA? People that receive the benefits of people like him who bring people here. The people who should be on the board of the LVCVA are people like top rank, people that promote events, people that are going to bring people here. Then we won't have things like a decline of 1 million people, an outrageous decline of 1 million people, as we did last year here in Las Vegas. That, by the way, 1 million people is $1 billion. $1 billion less came into our economy as a result of the incompetence of these people. Thank you.
Depends on who the governor is. If he's conservative, I'm conservative. Now, you know what a conservative votes for? Conservative constitutional measures. Okay. If it increases taxes, I would disagree. It all depends on what it is, and I would not. I'd flow with the governor if he's conservative, but if he's not, he or she, then we're gonna have a little discussion, you know, about it. Raising taxes, lowering taxes, it depends on what it is, who the governor is and what it is. He's right. I represent Nevada in bringing jobs and tourism, and that's basically one of the main reasons, among everything else. Of course, we have Homeland Security in charge of that too. We're part of that. Homeland Security is the most important thing. There's a lot of hotels out there. I work with all the hotels, by the way.
Thank you, Mr. Meyers.
Okay.
If the governor was to present legislation that was not Republican value-based, clearly I would oppose it.
I think I have a very unique position because I'm neither a Democrat or Republican, I'm an independent American. So I would be free to speak my mind, more free than anyone else, by the political restraints. And I think that's very important right now, because when we do not speak out and use our opportunity for free speech, we are losing our rights. Every day we are losing our rights, just like on the right to keep and bear arms. We must speak out and defend our rights, and we must stand up for what's right. When I work at the legislature, I work oftentimes with the Republicans, but there are times I work with the Democrats, and I can work with all of them if I agree with what they're doing. But if they don't, I'm on the opposite side of the table, and I've always been very public about that. And I think that's very important, to stand up and provide leadership for those who would oppose those who are essentially destroying our state for families and businesses. And that's what I see happening.
I think this question hits the proverbial nail right on the head for this race. When I was up in the legislature and I had to look down the barrel of the governor saying, we want to put through the largest tax increase in our state's history. Of course, I stood up against it. But the sad thing of it is most of the Republicans that got elected, they all claimed they were conservative. They all said they were conservative. They all pretended they were conservative. In fact, another gentleman who's running for this race, Mike Roberson, signed a tax pledge saying that he would never raise taxes, the tax pledge. And yet, when push came to shove, he went ahead and violated that tax pledge because he went along with the Good Old Boy Network. So, all these gentlemen and Janine here seem to be very good men, and they're all saying, and women, they're all saying great things. But until you actually have to press the button, when you're pushed with the lobbyists, with the governor, with the people that give you checks and telling you what to do, it's a different story. And we saw so many of our Republicans claim they were conservative, and then they turncoated. So I don't want to be a thorn, but there are certain things it gets down to when they're important things, you have to have integrity, and you have to hold the line. I did do that. I did have integrity. I have a very good voting record with NPRI, which is the Nevada Policy Research Institute. I'm pro-business, against increasing government, and I was willing to push that button correctly when all those pressures were on us. Thank you.
Petarra. So my question is more of a opinion-based one. Just kind of something I think is interesting, because most people don't know what a lieutenant governor does. And in researching it, it's kind of different from state to state, depending on what your governor wants you to do. If you're from California, you're obviously a little different from like Iowa, a little different. So here's my question, your opinion. Granted, there are changes that have to be made to the Constitution, I understand this, but it's more of a hypothetical. Do you think the lieutenant governor should be tied to the governor race? Just like a president and vice president would, running on a ticket? Do you think it would be more efficient or not?
No, I don't, because if that were the case right now, then the Republican side would be Mike Roberson and Adam Laxalt, and we wouldn't even need to be here. So I think representative government, where people get to put out ideas and discuss and be in forums such as this, I think it's good to have as much freedom of choice as possible. That's the essence of what made America so great, was limited government and freedom of choice of individuals. So we need to be able to speak our mind, which is the First Amendment, and put out ideas. And if we're too coalesced, then new ideas don't come about. So I think that we should absolutely keep them separate.
Just a couple years ago with the legislature, they had both Republican and Democrat former governors promoting a bill that would have made it like the president and vice president, where the lieutenant governor was essentially chosen by the governor and didn't ever have to face the people in terms of them voting on him. I led the battle to oppose that issue. I think it's very important to have an independent lieutenant governor. We were able to defeat it because we aroused the people and said they were taking away their right to vote for lieutenant governor. if you look at the election right now with Adam Laxalt running, that may never have happened if Nevada had had that rule of having the governor and the lieutenant governor on one ticket. And the reason for that is because if you'll remember, Adam Laxalt's grandfather, Paul Laxalt, was elected as the lieutenant governor of the state as a Republican, and there was a Democrat, Grant Sawyer, as the Democratic governor. And it was that launched Laxalt on ultimately to governor and then to U.S. Senate, and provided the way for his grandson, Adam Laxalt, to be running right now. So I think it's very important that we have the independent choice to be able to vote separately, and that we as the people can vet the individual candidates that are running, and that we can elect a governor that's a Republican or a Democrat, and the same we can do for lieutenant governor. And I'm on the record at the legislature, and I was one of the major people that testified against that issue. So I think it's very important that we have that independent choice, and it's had real consequences in the state of Nevada with regards just to that one example of the Laxalts. And that was an interesting case because all the powers that be were there supporting the issue. But we aroused the people and told them they were going to lose their right to vote for lieutenant governor, and we defeated that bill.
Well, the answer would be, in my case, no, and the lieutenant governor needs to stay independent. And it's a simple case of checks and balances. The other thing I would say is government works best when it's closest to the people. And if we take away the authority of the people to decide who the lieutenant governor is, well, then guess what? Somebody else is going to decide.
The words right out of my mouth, all of them. Yeah, I disagree with that. It's for the people. I'm here as the people. That's why I'm running. Yes, I agree with them. I agree that the people should be able to be independently voting for individuals. Not you don't want a team that become a team, and then you won't be able to do anything about it. These two guys get together, and you won't have any control over the state. We need separation for the people.
I was going to say, I totally agree with everyone else on the panel. But I had a conversation with the current Lieutenant Governor, Mark Hutchison, just day before yesterday. And I asked him what the jobs of the Lieutenant Governor are, and he told me the main job of the Lieutenant Governor is to be friends with the Governor and be very closely tied to him. And so he made me think about that, but I really agree more with what's been said here on the panel.
Hello, I'm Robert Adams. Is this thing on? Hello, I'm Robert Adams, U.S. Army. And so the gentleman here, Gary Meyers, mentioned that you folks have a close tie to Homeland Security. And the other lady here, Mrs. Hansen, mentioned the erosion of our rights. And so I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know if this question will directly impact your job, and I'm just going to ask it anyway. And it's regarding filming police officers. In 2010, the Department of Homeland Security brought up a memo that they put out that was supported by, I think it was supported by our Supreme Court. In fact, it was a case that was won, and I don't know the name of it, so I can't cite that case law. And so what it provided for in 2010 was that anybody can film any installation, military, post office you can go inside, military installations you can film from a public sidewalk, from a public easement. And what is happening with our police officers, contrary to a conversation I had with this gentleman, which I'm just bringing you guys in, that the police officers are not having people stuff their cameras in their face. It is in fact, based on a couple to 3,000 videos I've seen, it's oftentimes the opposite. There are not those who do that. So the question is this, is can you use whatever influence and monies you have to get more influence on our police to uphold and defend our rights, to keep our police accountable? Because I believe that our rights are going to erode. They already are eroding beneath our feet unless you are completely blind and have no common sense. No offense to anyone who disagrees with me. If you cannot see the erosion of our rights, and one of them happens directly with our police officers, and if you say something like this, does not have to mean that you're an anti-cop.
The question is,
and my question is this, is that without coming with an anti-cop bias, if you happen to have one or don't, will you do something to ensure the rights of individuals to film police without being harassed, targeted, and followed, which you will find thousands of videos documenting on YouTube? Better training, will you help provide for it in some way with your influence?
Well, there's no question that we should be allowed to film the police. There was an interesting incident several years ago where a man was filming the police over in Paradise Palms, the neighborhood where I live, and the policeman came up and just tore the camera out of his hand, threw him on the ground, all that. That same policeman had killed a 15-year-old boy in very questionable circumstances a couple of years before, and I went to the what do they call it? At that time it was called the coroner's inquest, where it's totally controlled to benefit the police. The district attorney there is representing the police against the family, against everything to do with the person who's been killed. And so there's no question that we should be able to film the police. I mean, that's just a given. Thank you.
On the list.
Yeah, I love our law enforcement, but yes, I would agree, but to a certain degree, it would be nice to have the policemen, they have their own cameras on them, so that protects them from somebody who wants to. It's the press that does this. It's the press that puts it out, that little 3-second, 5-second, 30-second video without any kind of background. Wait a minute, how did that happen? So I'm for the police having their own cameras on them so they can defend themselves in case of something like that. It's the press that does it. It's the press and that puts it out there. Yes, I've seen a lot of that on YouTube. I've seen a lot of it. But I look at it and I said, well, wait a minute. They're just showing 10 seconds of something that happened that might have happened a minute ago. That I want to know. I want to see the police officers' camera. See it. So we need to arm our police with their own cameras. They should have them on the show. It's the press.
The answer to your question is yes. Obviously, we have an obligation as an elected official to do everything we can for the citizens. And yes, the police are citizens. But I think with the body cameras that they're wearing, I think that helps basically level the playing field a little bit. And I think that we can work together in those situations. And I think the Attorney General would play a very large role here in Nevada as well in that function.
I really appreciate your question. A couple of years ago at the legislature, there was an important bill that Harvey Munford, a Democrat from Las Vegas, brought up, and that was to make sure that all the police had to wear cameras and certain other requirements. Now, that isn't the case all over the state, and there isn't enough funding to do that at this point. But they showed in a study in California that it was very worthwhile. It not only improved the behavior of the police by having to be filmed, but it improved the behavior of the citizens. And so it was a very worthwhile thing to do. And the day I came to testify on that, I drive from Elko. I live in Elko, so I was driving to the legislature, and I'd gone through the school zone, and I was starting to speed up infernally, and apparently I sped up too fast. I was trying to get to the hearing, and I got stopped by a policeman, and so he was giving me a ticket, and I realized I'd probably sped up too fast after the school zone, and so I asked him if I could read the ticket, and he slammed it in my hand and said no. I said, I think I have a right to read the ticket. May I please read my ticket before I sign it? So 4 times I asked him for it, and finally I said, I believe it's my constitutional right to read the ticket. And he said, if you don't sign this right now, I'm arresting you. So I decided that I didn't have time to get arrested that day, because in the past when I was doing petitions, I did get arrested, and I was exonerated for exercising my right to petition. I was hauled off in handcuffs in a paddy wagon to Par along with my son, and we were exonerated all the way to Supreme Court. You have to be willing to stand up for your rights. But that day I was on a mission to get to the legislature to testify on that bill. So I didn't wait to get arrested, and I signed the ticket. But it was a good story, a real life story to tell of the legislature that day, in that hearing that afternoon, that we should have cameras for the police. And I believe that citizens' rights are being violated by some. Most of them are good people that are in the police, but we're all better when we're held accountable. So the cameras hold us accountable, and I believe that's very important, and many of our rights are being violated, including free speech, is under threat by political correctness and our religious liberties as well.
I'll just tell Janine the secret to that, but not getting arrested is you have to have a ledge plate. You need to get a ledge plate. Because you got a ledge plate, they can't give you a ticket or arrest you or anything when you're going to session. Although they did wiretap my phones during my session because they didn't like I was bucking the system, which is completely illegal. But again, that's the system that we have right now. We do have a good old boys establishment. I would like to put on this, of course, accountability is 100%, and most police, probably 95, 98% of police officers are well-intended and very good guys. But there is a small group of bad apples out there, and of course, filming puts them on good behavior. In that regard, in the last legislative session, I wasn't elected, but during the cycle, I formed what's called a contract with Nevada, and there was 10 points on it. And one of those points was police cams on all officers, because it makes them accountable, and they do operate on their best behavior then, because they know they're being recorded. Unfortunately, what happens too is, the camera just happened to be off during that incident, right? But there should be penalties for that if that happens. So I think we're all preaching to the choir here, and we agree on, accountability, absolutely. So.
John Moore, former Nevada Assemblyman. Thank you all for being here. During my time, it'll lead to the question here. During my time in the legislature, I found myself faced a few times with voting either with the party line or voting with the people, or actually sometimes I voted against myself, because I represented the people. That's how I felt. So my question is, as Lieutenant Governor, as the potential tiebreaker in the Senate on any votes that would come to that, do you have the courage, or do you feel that you would vote against your party, what they're telling you to vote for, which will happen, or even yourself, if you feel, hey, this is good, but can you put aside your own personal feelings and vote for with the people?
Well, John, it looks like this question is very appropriate because we're two peas in a pod, and we discussed this many times when we were up in the legislature. Of course, what you need to do is it gets down to integrity, right? And what you represent, if you get elected on a platform, you should stand by your platform and not waffle. Unfortunately, so many of the guys up there, you don't know how they're really going to react until they have to push the button. And again, that's not to be a criticism, but none of the people here have been elected yet, so they haven't had to push the button when they have the force of the governor's office sitting in your office for hours telling you need to vote for this bill even though you don't want to. Or lobbyists saying, you know what, they can't say they won't give you a check, but they sure can imply it. You know what I mean? And there aren't a whole lot of us that actually have the integrity, so that's one of the things that, again, I want to stress is that I was in a situation, I was with John, and we experienced a lot of the same things, and we voted pretty much very similar. I have a great record with it, again, NPRI, which is the Nevada Policy Research Institute, showing that I am a pro-business conservative candidate. And it gets down to the integrity issue, and you really don't know until somebody's actually been in those situations where they have to push that button. Because we can all say, of course I'm going to have integrity. They all do. Every single candidate does. But unless you actually can see their record from the past, you don't really know what they're going to do. Because I've trusted a lot of guys that I believe would be 100% to their word, and as John saw, they weren't.
I really appreciate what former Assemblyman Brent Jones has said, because I've been there for many years and watched this happen. Good people you elect, and then they get there and they suffer the pressures of the position, and then they cave. I've seen this repeatedly. One of the things that I've done is that I've stood firm. When I'm alone, when I go in to testify on the bill, if I'm the only one there and the whole room is against me, I'm there testifying. I have never not provided that leadership of opposing that. And often I've seen when only one person is willing to stand, it can change a lot of things if they're willing to do that. So I can't imagine a time in my life that I haven't in the past stood alone many times, that I wouldn't be willing to do that as President of the Senate. And of course, there'll only be one Republican on the ballot in November, and there'll only be one Democrat on the ballot in November, but I will be on the ballot in November for sure. And you can count on the fact that my whole life I have been at the legislature every session since I was in college in 1971, representing families and taxpayers and representing the Constitution, because I'm absolutely concerned about our constitutional rights, that you could depend on the fact that my whole life has been spent with integrity. I didn't make any money doing it. I haven't been elected to office, but I've always stood firm in standing up for what I believe in and defending the Constitution in every way that it was possible for me to do.
As an elected official, your job is to represent the people. So the answer to your question is you do what the voters ask you to do. That's your obligation. And for the record, Janine, I don't have time to get arrested either.
If it has anything to do with raising taxes, forget about it. All right? Yeah, if it's what the people want, I would have to take a real conservative look at it and make the decision. That's something that it's that moment and that time. Now, I go by the Republican platform, and if it's constitutional, yes. If it's not constitutional, I will not go for it. If the people want it, it really depends on what the legislation is. But if it has anything to do with taxes, I will not sign. I will not go for it. And I'll just be a conservative. I'll make a conservative decision.
Yes, my name is Uehling. I'm running for Lieutenant Governor. I would go a step further than the other people on the panel and discard all political parties. A major oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it great?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry you didn't get to hear that part. But I would discard political parties and make and have people run on their personal beliefs. Political parties are destroying our country. The win-lose format that they operate under is dividing the country. It's making it impossible to get anything done. And that is an antiquated way of dealing with things that existed before the internet. Now we have the internet. We have full information for everybody. So people should be coalescing when they're elected. They should be coalescing under issues, not under parties, not under pressure groups, of which the parties are the main pressure group. So I would definitely agree with what John said.
Thank you, Ed. Mr. McDonald?
Michael McDonald here. For the record, I wanted to ask, as the Lieutenant Governor, you have a unique position as to getting bills through the legislature. You're also responsible for the committees to appoint people to the committees. Now, I asked that would you support legislation for family and criminal law reform, such as equal parenting, the DV laws, the bail amounts, the mandatory minimums. There's a lot of things that really need to be changed that are enslaving the people. We have a judiciary that has barely any oversight, that really needs to be overhauled. And a lot of people going to jail, losing their children, their property. How is your stance on family and criminal law reform, and will you help broaden the gap and bring those bills to fruition to help the people?
Excellent question, because judicial reform is a major issue. We're in a country of 300 million people that has 25% of the world, of all the people in the world that are in jails. And we represent 5% of the people in the world. There's something definitely wrong. I would disagree that the Lieutenant Governor has any authority, though, to appoint people to legislative panels or anything like that. But as far as criminal reform, there's no question. The drug war should be given up. It's a total losing cost. It's destroyed millions of families. It's put millions of people in jail. And for what? We have the highest rate of opioid abuse in the entire world. And yet we still go off all over the world killing people and because they're dealing in drugs. 20,000 people were killed in Mexico alone last year because of the U.S. drug war. And it's just crazy. It benefits the worst people you want to benefit. It benefits cartels. It benefits narco states. It benefits the police. It benefits the spook agencies. And who does it hurt? It hurts the people, as always, as most activities of the government. Thank you.
Yes, we do need reform. He's right. But we have to, he's right, we don't have that power to appoint all these legislators to that thing, but I am totally for reform. I'm totally for people who are conservative and people who are in that world, in that frame, that are good people, that will do it for the people, that will convert. We need to flesh it out. We just need to flesh it out. You go, let's put somebody else in who can handle the situation. Everybody's just there pocketing the money. It drives me crazy when I see that happen. So, yes, I'm for reform. I'm for it.
Michael, you covered an awful lot of ground there, and a lot of it's not necessarily in the purview of the Lieutenant Governor. So I think the best way to answer is this way. As a conservative, I would use my conservative principles to guide me in what I could do to help with that issue and what my constituents want to have done.
That's a very important question. You know, there's been a real move in our state to take judges out of the ability of the people to vote for. For instance, at least twice we've had bills at the legislature and even gone onto the ballot to appoint judges rather than elect them. I've fought against those all these years, not only at the legislature, but when they were on the ballot. Another thing they've done is move the judges' election and filing for office from from March, which all of us had to file in March, to January, the 1st of January. So it makes it much more inaccessible and people aren't aware, so they aren't prepared to run for judge. I think this is another way to make them inaccessible to the people. I think and one of the things they've done in our state is made, instead of making them family-friendly courts, they've made them friends of the Family Services Division. And these people violate family rights. They take children away inappropriately, and it's a travesty. I had some friends who were homeschoolers. He happened to be blind. They came in and took all of their 6 children out of their home. They had not done anything to abuse them. They were homeschoolers and they were just on their list. So there are many abuses that have taken place in our state regarding the family social services, and I am very aware of those, including others around the nation. And it's a critical issue that needs reform, but there's many levels that have to be reformed, and as they said, the Lieutenant Governor does not appoint committees. That's done by the majority leader, either in the Senate or in the Assembly. But you can get a bill introduced by your own Assemblyman or your own Senator if you're concerned about doing that, and then get others around you to help push that.
Not to sound so condescending, but this kind of ties into what a lot of the answers have been here. We want to do it for the people, right? So what is the family law courts? What's in the best interest of the child? So the reality is the Democrats control judiciary generally, and they want trial lawyers to have more power and more money and be able to bill clients more. So they have this ambiguous rule called what's in the best interest of the child, which then causes lawyers to fight a whole lot. And for instance, spousal support. If there's a formula, it's very easy. You put the numbers in, it kicks it out. But they want to remove that formula so they can fight and bill their clients more. So just like we can all say it's what the people want, the reality is it's not what the people want, it's what you represent that you're going to be doing. Because if we say what the people want, just politically, do we want a $15 an hour minimum wage? No, the people want it. No, it'll kill business. Do we want more lawyers in family court because it's for the best interest of the child? No, we don't. We want less discretion with the lawyers and more statements so that it removes their influence and being able to, for lack of a better term, abuse the actual people they're supposedly taking care of. So this gets down to the essence of what we want. Do we want less government? Do we want less interference in our lives? If that's the person you want, I'm the guy. I have a proven record, I do that. And I understand your issue 100%, because when you give more discretion to these lawyers, it just creates more money for them and more abuse to the people that they're supposedly, and that's what government does. We're taking care of the people. Well, does it really take care of the people? We became the best and most prosperous country on the planet of the earth in all of history with our founding fathers' vision of limited government. We are losing that, so of course, in every aspect, it's a simple solution. The less power that the bureaucrats have, the less power that the lawyers have, the better the people are.
The discretion of the attorneys and the judges, but yeah, thank you.
And you know, what they do is in family court is they go in and they're old buddies. Oh, I saw you on the Harley ride the other night, or oh, you know what else? And then you're sitting there going, if it's the other guys like Willick's firm, they're sitting there abusing the heck out of you because they're buddies and they funded them and everything else. And it's like your hometown from the get-go. It's very corrupt.
We need
We
oversight.
had another, we had a question from Ron Q. Land.
Hello everybody, my name is Ron Q. Keeling, a candidate for Clark County Treasurer, CEO and founder of Ron Q Corporations, a senior director for Veterans in Politics. If you don't know me, you can Google me. Well, some of you knows me already. If you don't have any Google, you can ask my private attorney who I am. Anyways, my question is, let's say everything's said and done, you get elected. What bill would you try to propose in the state legislature, and we want to know about it?
Okay, well, I'm going to go for two on that because there's two things. Of course, we need to repeal the commerce tax. It's the worst tax there is. It's the top line tax. But worse than that, what it does is it breaks people up into many groups, like 16 groups, I think it is, or might be more. So what that does, that gives the lobbyists the pressure to say, hey, mining, you give me more money and I'll keep your rate low, but I'll jack everybody else's rates up. Hey, car dealerships, you give me more money and I'll keep your rates low, but I'll jack it. So it's just, again, it just feeds into the corruption. Second thing is a travesty, and nobody's touched on this today, but our children, we keep throwing more and more money at this broken system. You know the new results just came out? We're, I think, 49th. And after doing this huge tax increase, it doesn't matter how much money we give to the Clark County School District, the public school, they're gonna be pushing transgender bathrooms, they're gonna be pushing, oh, you have to feel good, instead of getting down to actually teaching our children. So we need to fund the educational savings accounts. Our Supreme Court's found that they're constitutional, so now all we have to do is just fund them. And when we did that special session, when we approved the stadium and the convention center, us conservatives were begging the governor and begging Mike Roberson to let's push this through right now. We can fund these things, it'll be fast, we have the votes, let's do it. And they said, no, we're gonna do it next session, it's a priority. Bull, it just killed it. So we just removed the opportunity. And you know what's so sad about it is, most disadvantaged children, ESAs or educational savings account helps them more because rich people can afford to send their kids to private school. It's the lower middle class and the lower children that are locked in the